Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
Bill and Ted's Riff in Time was a Kickstarter I totally missed. I don't know how I missed it because I see all the Kickstarters and I back a ton of them. And I am the perfect person to purchase this game, and I missed it. So I was able to see somebody say, hey, I got this in the mail on Facebook, and I saw it. I was like, hey, what is this? So I went to Amazon, and I purchased it. And I have to say, I do like the cooperative nature of the game. So it's a cooperative board game where you're playing as Bill and Ted or their wives, and you're going through and trying to take the historical figures back to their places and fix the rift in time before time runs out or the rift deck, time and space evaporates, right? It kind of feels like it's based on the first movie. Everything that's kind of going through that. It has this weird CGI look to the artwork, claymation type look, and it works. I prefer stills. I know I'm alone in this, but I prefer stills from the movie. But the artwork is really, really nice. You do get miniatures with this for the main characters. They're not the most detailed, but they do work here, and they look great. We have our own Bill and Ted miniatures. Yay, I like that quite a bit. You get standees for the rest of the guys. There is a upgrade kit that you can get. They call it an expansion. It's really an upgrade kit where you can get Rufus, and you can get, the standees will become miniatures. But the game is really cool. I like kind of going around and you're pulling those rifts down. Now, it's a very simplistic game. The game is very, very simple. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's simple because the interact action does a lot of things. But in this way, you can turn over a card, something bad will happen. Then you're going to roll the dice for your possible actions. You're going to utilize those actions the best you can. And then you're going to, after everybody goes, the timer at San Dimas is going to move up. The timer ever gets to 20, or you run out of rift cards, you lose. If you get all the historical figures back to where they need to be and take care of the rifts through the interact actions, then you will win. I like the dice mechanism. I like this when they had this in the Back to the Future game, and some people kind of poo-pooed on it, but I kind of like it. It reminds me of War of the Ring, where like you can't just do everything you want. You have re-rolls. You can gain re-rolls. There's ways you can get more, but at the end of the day, you got to make it work with what you got. And I think it's a very neat mechanism, and it kind of constrains you, but constrains you in a fun way. Now, the interact action does so much. I mean, I almost wish it was like 2 or 3 different actions, but I think it would become frustrating at that point. So it kind of works. Keeps things simple. It's a family weight type game. I'm not saying family weight in winning it, but definitely family weight in the options that are available to you. Everybody has a variable power. It's really fun. They feel a little bit different as you're going through, but it keeps everything really, really simple. The quality, the components are great. They really came through on this one. And this is what I really, really like. For a family weight cooperative game based on an IP, which I adore, I am going to keep this one. It's going to be a keeper. Here's Bill and Ted's Riff in Time. And this has like a CGI claymation look to it, so I'm not really sure what's going on with the characters in this. I thought it was based on the movie. Here's the rulebook, which we'll take a look at in a few minutes, and the board, which I'll pull out. When you open this up inside, you're going to have a pretty good little carrying case here. So I like the insert here. Everything is going to fit in it perfectly, as you can see. Except for this, I wasn't really sure where this went, but I just laid it up on top. So we'll take a look at all the components, and I'll tell you what I think about them. This little San Dimas tile is fine. It doesn't fit perfectly into the slot. Now, one thing I didn't like about this insert is there's no way to get my fingers out of here. So I have to kind of grab one of this and start pulling things out because it doesn't have a little dip over here that this does. When you get to the bottom, I had no way to get this out other than using another one. It doesn't really come up very well, as you can see. That's my only real complaint about this. You can see these tiles here are kind of generic. They just have the name of the city and like a building, but that's what the motif that they're going for on these. Very thick, very nice, good components. You're going to have the standees of the different people, which are fine. Here's Babe Ruth. They all fit down in it really bad. It doesn't destroy it like some of these are, but they're very loose. So when you pick this up from here, sometimes this will fall off. You're going to have 4 different dice that you'll be able to have in this game. You're going to have different sections. For example, this black die is a negative dice. It only has bogus or blank. And the pink one is probably the best because it has a lot of the wild cards, the excellence on it. You're going to have 4 miniatures here. You're going to have 2 females. And you're going to have 2 of the guys in here in the different colors. You can see his half shirt. I always liked his half shirt here. I thought it was really funny. And a sign of the times back then, right? From Bill S. Preston, Esquire. And you can see her giving the 2 fingers up. Not the most detailed miniatures in the world. I mean, they're fine for a little game like this. But I mean, these are not. I think that Ted here is probably the most detailed, I guess. I like him the best. Maybe not his pose. He's doing the air guitar, which is kind of cool. Once again, there's no finger indentation here, so you're constantly just trying to get these out. And these are going to be the 4 characters you're going to have. Elizabeth Logan, his wife. Everybody's going to have a unique power down here, but it's like claymation almost, like a CGI. So there's Ted Theodore Logan, Joanna Preston, and Bill S. Preston Esquire. So you're going to have the 4 characters that will come with this one, each with their own unique power. Then you're going to have any number of these guys. These are going to be the historical figures that you're going to have. You probably remember this from the movie Riff in Time, and most of these are just from the first one, Billy the Kid, Sigmund Freud, Abraham Lincoln, stuff. And these are just standees of differing sides. So, like, he's really big, and like I said earlier, fits right into one of these, so that works out well. Then you have your personages card, which are going to be fine. They're going to be double-sided. You can see the character. This is where you need to take them to, and then the dice or the powers that will come with it, and you're still going with that motif, if you will, there. So, those are the characters. Then over here, you're going to have a deck of cards. That does have a little bit of a lip there, but I cannot get in here to get these very easily. You're going to have a Riff deck, and you're going to have some objectives down here. So let's take a look at the objectives first. These will give you what you need to do, and then the reward over here on the side. Some of these are a little bit questionable, and you'll be using the book to look those up. But there's plenty of these objectives, and each person is only going to use 2 in a game. So you have plenty to use and a lot. Now the Rift deck is going to be the bad things that will be happening to you. You can see the back. It's pretty much the same as the objective. It just has a different word on it. And then these will be just icons that you'll be utilizing to move things. And this will be like the AI of the game. I found the components to be very good. The cards are good quality. The miniatures are pretty good for this kind of thing. I like the dice quite a bit. The standees are fine for the purpose that you're using them for. And the insert, while not perfect because it doesn't have that where you can get things out, is nice. And it's better than just dumping everything in there. So here's the board. There's a place down here for the Rift cards. And then you'll have these dials that will go in. Now, I must say that this board is very heavy. This is a very heavy board. It's not, you won't be able to pick it up, but it's much heavier and more durable than a lot that I see. And you'll see here that this kind of flips down in here. I didn't feel like mine fit all that flat. I don't know if you can see that or not. It kind of comes out a little bit. I don't know if it got warped or something. I didn't feel like that. This one didn't fit that well down. These are pretty snug. These fit pretty good. These will be dials. But as you can see, it's thematic because this kind of looks like what was going on in the movie with the phone booth, but it's just a bunch of dials, right? So that's kind of what you're getting with this. They try to do what they can. And you can see these lead to different areas, but not like everything won't go here. So, and this will be variety modular as they're set up randomly. So the board's very nice. I think this will work out well. My only real complaint is the San Dimas one doesn't lie flat in it. Here's a rulebook for Bill and Ted's Riff in Time. It's a very big rulebook. So you open this up, you can see a lot of stuff going on here. Gameplay, object, and a sequence of play right here. Then it goes through the setup. Plenty of pictures. This was really, really good. Component list over here, which is fine. I had a little trouble figuring out what was what because the black die and the brown on the cards didn't match up. But everything else is pretty good. And a picture of setup over there. And then we're going to get into a little bit more detail about how things are going to work, to draw the Riff card. The only thing I didn't like was there's little rules, like you really need to read this very carefully. There's some information here that you won't see again. So they don't really repeat themselves very much. You have Rufus helping you out with some quick rules. And then the game kind of ends right here. This is the game. And then you're going to go into explanation of the icons, which is great. This is fantastic stuff. Some examples of the cards and explanations. I felt a little uneasy as I was playing, but to be honest, everything was really here. And then the winning and losing the game and the abilities. Just follow the rule book exactly. There's no player aid on the back or anything like that, and you'll be fine. I was able to read this. I sat down to play this, and I read this, and I was able to not really make any mistakes when I was playing. So maybe 10, 15 minutes, and you'll be up and running. So if the game is easy, each player will pick a character with a unique power. You put all the characters in San Dimas at the number of players. So if you're playing a 2-player game, it would be on 2. 4-player game would be 4. Each of these dials will be set in a random location, as will the historical figures. You shuffle up the Rift deck, and you are ready to go. In order to win, the players must take all the historical figures back to the place listed on their cards. So that'll be a location, and then get the Rift down to 0. And they will win the game once they do all the historical figures and all of these rifts are down to 0. The players lose if the San Dimas marker ever gets to 20, or the Rift deck runs out. You cannot draw a card when you need to. So that's the win and lose conditions. On your turn, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to draw a Rift card and do what it says. For the most part, it's going to make certain locations move up on the Rift dial. As you can see here, move Orleans up 1. Move Athens up 1. Some of these will be good things. Just let you look at the top 3 cards of the deck and put them back in any order you want, or reduce San Dimas down by 1. So these are things that will do. Now, if you have one that's like in a red part right here, so if you move Austerlitz up 1 and it happens to be in red, then you would do this. If it's not in red, you would not do that. If it's already been fixed, i.e. the historical figure has been sent back and the Rift is down to 0, then you would just draw a new Rift card, and that's what this gray part means down here. So you can see there are plenty of these to kind of go through. If it ever has a green, same thing as a red, you move New York up 2. If it's in the green, you move San Dimas up 2, and etc. If you have something like this with a tool booth, it will tell you that everybody will go to this location. So you draw one of these at the beginning of a turn, and you do what it says. Second thing you're going to do is roll your dice. Everybody will start out with 3 yellow dice unless you earn more. Well, how can you earn more? If you look here on the historical figures, if you're able to pick one of these guys up, this guy would give me a blue die and a free move action. Now, some of these, like Charmaine, will give you a blue and a black die, although it says brown on here. The black die is a negative die that has blank sides or a B. Bogus is bad, so you want to make sure that you don't have those, but if you have any character that has a black die, you must use it. The maximum amount of die you can roll in a turn is 4. So what you're going to do in your turn is you're going to roll these dice, and these dice are going to give you your actions. You always have 1 free reroll. You can go back in time and reroll 1 time, but you must reroll all of the die. Now, if one of your characters has this icon right here, this icon lets you reroll just 1 of your die. So if you get a 1 bad result, you don't have to risk the rest. That can be quite handy. So what do these do? The Bogus, which is B, will allow you to, it's a negative effect, whatever location you're at, the Rift will go up 1. So if you're in San Dimas, it will go up 1. If you happen to be over here, then this Rift would go up 1, and that's a negative thing that would occur. You do not want the Rifts to go up. So if the Rifts ever get to 10, and you need to move it up again, then you would move San Dimas up instead of this area. Remember, if you get to 20, you will lose. So Bs are bad and not good. The phone booth is easy. That's a move. So you can move from location to location, and you would just follow these blue lines. So if you were here in Vienna, I could move up this line to New Mexico, or I can move over here to San Dimas, but I could not move to Castle because there is not a blue line going from there to there. You also have this sign, which is your interact. This is the one that you'll be utilizing the most. This will allow you, if you're at a location, you're able to pick up the historical figure and put it on your player sheet. Then you would take the historical figures card, and now as long as you're carrying him, you will get a blue die on your turn, and you would have a free move action, and he would go down on your personages over here. So what you're trying to do now is trying to get Babe Ruth over to New York. So I picked him up in Vienna here, and let me see where New York is on the table. Oh, great, it's right here. So if I had a move action, I can move up here, spend an additional interact, and I could deliver him to that location. So I would drop Babe Ruth off there, and then I would no longer have access to his abilities. This card would be discarded off to the side, and then what we would do is we would be trying to decrease the dial of the location that he's in. So if I'm able to get New York down to 0, then what you would do is you'd flip this over, and it would say fixed. And if it's fixed, and you're the one that did that, you'd pick him back up, and you would leave this side uncovered, and you would get a pink die every time. Now, the pink die is really nice because it has the E on it, which is excellent. That's a wild. That lets you do whatever you want, which will normally be interact or move. So this is a much better die you can have, and you're going to gain that die by putting these people back in their time period and fixing the rifts, and that's a lot what you're doing. Once it's fixed, it kind of can't be affected. There is a card or so in the Rift deck that will undo a fix, but it's very, very rare. For the most point, if you go to this, and let's say this Orleans is already fixed, then you would go down here and just draw additional Rift deck. Well, that can be, you say, hey, that's not too bad, except for if this deck runs out, you will lose the game. The only other little tweak to the game are these objectives. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to have an objective card that will be given to you, and you're going to have this ability over here. So you have a free move maybe, or maybe a free interact every turn. But you're also going to have it on this side. So what this is going to let you to do is, let's say this one right here. If you get Socrates and you're in Washington, D.C.,
Then at the end of your turn, you have accomplished this. You move San Dimas back 1, and then on you'll have this free move action. So that can be really fun. So like this one, you need to get Napoleon to castle, into Austerlitz, into San Dimas, move San Dimas back 2, and you get in everything. So you get an excellent. So you can do anything you want. So this will be a one-time reward when you accomplish it, and this down here will be an ongoing power you have. It's not really clear from this, but that's kind of how that it works. Once again, you need to get everybody back to their historical location based on where it says on their card. You need to get the rifts down to 0 by spinning Interact. Once you do that for all the locations, you win. If the San Dimas marker ever gets to 20 or the rift deck, you need to draw a card and you cannot, you would lose the game. And that's how you play Bill and Ted's Riff in Time, a most excellent board game.
Who should buy this game? Anyone who's a fan of Bill and Ted. I mean, if you're looking for a Bill and Ted game, I think this is the Bill and Ted game. This is the best Bill and Ted game on the market, at least that I'm aware of. And this is one where you get to play from characters from the movies, and you get to go through, and it kind of feels like you're doing what the movie does, and the IP fits fantastically. And if you don't like the IP, this is a fun cooperative game. I had a really good time with it. I like the dice rolling. I like the riff cards that are coming up, the tension that builds. Excellent game. Is it, where would this rank in the best cooperative games? Probably not. But I think that it's a very good game if you're looking for something a little bit lighter in the cooperative nature, and you like the IP. This is a no-brainer. Absolute keeper for me.